All right, welcome to Raw Sports Takes. Today is going to be a special day. It's December 18 of 2024. Today I'm at the station, at Fire Station. I'm not going to say which one, but you guys probably figured out by now which station it is. Plus, I don't want to get in trouble by Chief. Sorry, Chief. But in today's episode, I have a special guest. I have my college expert. We're going to talk to college football. Welcome my guests here, and we're going to talk a lot of college, especially since college starts tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday, or is it Thursday? It's from the game.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Okay. Say hi to the crowd here, bro.
It's going up, Raw Sports Nation.
Hey, right.
It's a little hard to follow that take after Aaron Rodgers. Fuck Aaron Rodgers, by the way.
All right, so you feel the same way about Aaron Rodgers?
Not as strongly as you, but...
Have you seen his stupid preview to his stupid show, Enigma, or
I haven't watched
or Stigma? It should be Stigma, but...
Well, I haven't watched the actual documentary yet, but...
It's just pretty much him in a fucking jungle acting like a jackass. Okay. If anything, it's not proper cultural... What is it? Cultural... what's the word that I'm looking for?
Politically correct? PC?
No. It's not cultural... I don't know, whatever. Anyways, he's just been a dipshit, pretty much.
Thank you for having me on here. Been trying to, get on here for a while. Big fan, by the way. I've heard of every episode, so
I appreciate
about
that.
time you've had me on here.
Bigger fan than Marty?
Bigger fan than Marty, believe it or not. I'm probably your number one supporter.
Damn, okay.
So,
well, welcome, bro. We're probably going to get canceled after this episode because what I said about Aaron Rodgers. At least that's what Cap thinks. I think Cap thinks I'm going to get canceled after saying
not the
that.
episode I want to be on, but regardless, I'm thankful to be here.
You know what? I'll just edit that out so you don't have to. I'll edit it out so you don't have to be on there.
Okay. Yeah, man. But big weekend. College football playoff starts. It's the first 12-team format, so I'm very excited for that. So I've been dying to get on here, and no better episode to talk about college football than this one. We're on, I guess you could say the eve of college football.
Oh, cool.
Starting, so pretty pumped up. First round's going to start Friday, and then Saturday's all day.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's exciting, especially if even if you're just a big football fan and not a really college fan. I think college is a different experience. It's a total different animal than really the NFL. The NFL is kind of more like your city or whatever team your parents were watching or whatever team you just associate yourself with. Some people associate themselves with like a team that a state they never even been to. They never probably even been to one Green Bay game, shit like that. People like that. Other people associated with, the state. They being in Texas, grew up, probably be a Cowboys fan. It's just weird. Football fans, NFL fans are probably a lot more weird. And I think college fans are a little bit more fanatic and a little bit more attached to that team, especially if you went to that college. It's a big deal. It hits home. For you, unfortunately, it's Florida State. Florida State shit the house. What is it, the first school to start number 10 and then not be any rank at all afterwards?
Yeah, there's another team that has done that in the past, I want to say 20 years, and it's also Florida State.
It's also Florida State.
They did that back in, I believe, in 2017. So,
was that after the James Winston?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not our best years, but like I said, big Florida State guy here, class of 19, go Noles. But kind of, like you said, college football is, in my opinion, I think college football is a little bit better than NFL. A little bit more pride when it comes to the fan base.
Yeah, definitely.
And the fan base is definitely, there's nothing like a college football game. The atmosphere is unreal. So I love NFL, don't get me wrong, but there's no comparing a college football game to a NFL game. The atmosphere is better. That just means more, I think, to the fans, especially the fan bases. And now that we have this 12-team format, I kind of feel like it gives a lot of smaller schools a better chance to get more of a national spotlight, especially towards the national championship. Before, it was a 4-team format. And so last year, Florida State was left out of the playoff, being undefeated. The first Power 5 conference team that would be left out, an undefeated team to be left out of the college football playoff. So now that it's 12-team format, it gives those more smaller schools like the SMUs, the Boise States of the world to get a shot at the national title. So
being a Florida fan and Florida State fan there, what do you think went wrong with Florida State? Since they were undefeated last year and they were left out, but then this year they just crumble. I mean, what was the biggest issue you think there to Florida State?
Oh, it's a great question, Miguel. That's a really great question, and I got the answers for you. So what happened with Florida State this year, I feel, in my opinion, is that last year they basically had an NFL team. They had a great team last year. They had a bunch of guys go drafted. They had their defensive line was basically one of the best in the nation, and they lost the defensive tackle. Their whole secondary was pretty much drafted as well too. So it was basically a whole new team this year. And I love Mike Norvell. He's the head coach for Florida State, but he relies pretty heavily on the transfer portal. which transfer portal could be a whole nother episode in itself. But basically, Florida State recruited, they had some guys, some incoming freshmen that helped out a lot, but they relied heavily on the transfer portal. And so whenever the graduating class left, we had a lot of key players leave, such as Keon Coleman.
Yeah, Keon Coleman. Bills.
Yes, we also had our great quarterback, Travis.
And Benjamin?
Not Travis Benjamin.
Was it not?
No, so Jordan Travis.
Jordan Travis.
Yes, he had a terrible, horrific ankle injury that ended our season, basically. Then we also had Benson. He was our running back. He got drafted by the Cardinals. And then we also had Johnny Wilson. He plays for the Eagles now. So he was another wideout, big, tall guy. And so we basically had a small NFL team. And when they all left, it was just a huge void to replace. And so Mike Norvell relied heavily on the transfer portal. And a lot of the guys that he recruited to replace these key players just didn't pan out. And so our biggest issue this year was our quarterback. He went out and got DJ Uungale I liked him a lot. I liked DJ a lot. Followed his career pretty closely at Clemson.
Yeah.
It was a big 5-star recruit. Really big 5-star recruit.
Went to Oregon, right?
Oregon State.
Oregon
So
State,
Clemson,
yeah.
does pretty well. But then basically the quarterback now, Kay Kublik, replaces him. DJ gets benched, gets chased out of town. It was kind of sucked because I thought he was decent at Clemson, but gets chased out of town, goes in the transfer portal, goes to Oregon State, had a pretty decent year at Oregon State. Florida State picks him up, and then it just didn't pan out, man. He was probably the worst quarterback this year, statistically. And, man, he was just, watching him play would give me anxiety because he would have just enough flashes of good passes for me to think that he would be, decent enough. But then every time he would drop back, I would just have anxiety, not knowing if it was going to be an interception or.
So kind of like Jameis Winston in the NFL.
Yeah, pretty much, but just as worse. Yeah,
just worse.
Yeah,
more worse moments.
Yeah, minus the success, but yeah. And then defense was not bad this year. Defense was probably the brighter spot of both sides of the ball. But I mean, they just couldn't score. I mean, they didn't score 20 points until the eighth game of the year. And so, yeah, and then it was just hard. They would have a hard time scoring, moving the ball. Like I said, all the transfers they just did not pan out. Running back Ordell Williams didn't pan out like we thought. Malik Benson didn't pan out like we thought. He came from Alabama.
So what do you think? So as far as transfer portal, you think it's a good thing for the college football, or you think it's a bad thing? Or
yes and no. I do think transfer portal is pretty good. Because there's a lot of success stories coming out of the transfer portal. Like, for instance, like I just told you, the quarterback from Florida State, Jordan Travis, came from Louisville, 3-star recruit, goes to Louisville, didn't pan out, goes to Florida State, phenomenal guy. You can look at Travis Hunter, look at him, goes in, transfer portal, goes in, follows the course's coach, but the transfer portal allows these guys.
Yeah, but he was a 5-star.
He was a 5-star. State,
yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, at Florida State, then he went to Deion Sanders. Yeah.
There's a lot of guys, like I said. Look at I don't know if you guys know this, but the running back from Arizona State, they're in the playoffs right now. The running back, Cam Scadaboo, he came from Sacramento State. Small.
Same thing with Cam Ward.
Cam Ward, exactly.
Cam Ward out of here, Incarnate Word.
Yes, and a lot of people don't know that. I've actually seen Cam Ward play live.
Here in San Antonio?
No, when my very first, I went to Oregon last year. They played, Washington State played against Oregon. And
yes, because he was here in Incarnate Word, then he went to Washington State, then he transferred
to Miami. And he actually, a lot of people don't know this, but he was at Washington State for 2 years and bowled out at Washington State. And I actually saw him live play against Oregon last year. And Oregon last year had a good squad, good defensive squad, and he lit him up. And so Cam Ward can ball. He's actually a pretty good athlete. But yeah, a lot of people don't know. Like he's probably the best success story you could probably talk about when it comes to transfer portal. But the transfer portal, with the good comes the bad, as I said. And so with that, like I said, the guys are just not. There's no more loyalty to programs no more. There's no more pride. And I will say, and then at this point, it's basically who can pay me the most.
Yeah.
Which I'm not upset. I do think that players have been getting paid.
Should get paid.
Yeah, they should get paid. But players have been getting paid for years, even before, and it's just been under the table. Now it's just more clean.
Reggie Bush.
Yeah, and it's legal now. So I do think that when it comes to the transfer portal, it's good, but I do think that they need to have some type of regulations on it. I mean, we can go on and on, but
I personally think the transfer portal, same thing. I like it and don't like it because you do have great success stories, but you also have a lot of as far as you're recruiting, like you're a Nick Saban, or not even a Nick Saban, you'll say you're like a Tennessee, a mid-level kind of college, UNC with Bill Belichick now. and then it's just not panning out, or you're not getting paid enough, or you're not getting playing time, you could just leave and go somewhere else. I think this should go back to the old school, which if you're not a graduate, you have to wait a whole year to play. And that will give more, I guess, more incentive for them to stay at that school. Because they know if I transfer from, like, let's say Tennessee or UNC now with Bill Belichick, because I don't like the way he talks to me, because he talks to me like a grown up, and I don't like being talked to like that. And I end up transferring to like Texas, I have to wait a whole year.
Well, there's no more development now. So before the transfer portal, it was kind of hard to transfer. And when you did transfer, you have to sit out
a whole year, yeah.
So because of that, that kind of deterred a lot of guys to transfer. So because of that, players were sticking it out, waiting their time, being developed. And now it's not, why would you want to sit behind a quarterback when you can just transfer, go to another school, start immediately, get a good tape for a whole year, and then transfer out to a bigger school?
Yeah.
So I could see why players are leaving, but at the same time too, I think it's creating a culture where why would I want to stick around, wait it out when I can just transfer out and go to the highest bidder and get paid more? I do think they need to have some regulations on it, like I said, when it comes to the money, because now these players are just going to the highest bidder, which is hard, right? So if you're like a smaller school, let's take just UTSA. Yeah, UTSA, for example. They don't have the budget to compete and get out these top recruits from transfer portal as a University of Texas, as an A&M. So because of that, they're getting out recruited, and it's hard for these smaller schools to compete on such a larger scale. So I do think, but that's the problem with anything. Look at MLB baseball; it's the same thing. The Dodgers are just killing the market right now with their agents, because
Dodgers,
Yankees, they can afford to, all these bigger markets can afford to outbid these smaller market teams. So it's the same thing in college football now, and it's creating that market of the highest bidder now. And like I said, it's good and it's bad. But, these bigger schools have a huge, but a lot plays into that: boosters, revenue, everything. If a successful school like a UT, they get more revenue, they generate more money than, of course, a UTSA. So they're allowed to go after these bigger players. But also, too, one thing that kind of, let's take Ohio State, for instance, right now. They're the perfect example of the transfer portal and this new age. Ohio State has paid the most money for their roster. They went out and poached players, tampering, and that happens a lot. They're going out picking the best players because they have the money to afford that. But look at them, it paid off. They're one of the best teams right now in the nation, I believe, and they're a great team. They have a great roster on paper, and I think they're kind of scheduled right now to make a great run in playoff right now. So transfer portal, like I said, I do think it's good, but I do think they need to put some regulations on it. And also, too, right now, what's kind of shitty about the transfer portal is that it's only open for a small window between December 9th and it closes. It starts December 9th and it closes December 28th. So, like, these players that are on these playoff teams, they have to leave their teams right now if they want to go and join a team right now, because they have to get in before the spring semester starts. So it's kind of tricky right now, but I do think the transfer portal will get better. But just like with anything, time and
get the bugs fixed and all that. Now we'll get to the thick of these things. But what do you think about so far the playoffs? So far we got number 1 Oregon, number 2 Georgia, number 3 Boise State, and number 4 Arizona State. Those are your 4 teams that are on a bye pretty much, just waiting for the winners of wherever team it is. I personally don't like Boise State at number 3. I don't like Arizona at number 4. Arizona State number 4 either. I don't think they should have gotten a bye. I don't think they should be ranked that high. Arizona State really didn't play anybody, to be honest with you. I think they played maybe 2 ranked teams the whole year. And I think Boise State, what was the only game? They lost 1 game.
They lost a very close game against Oregon.
Yes, very close game. But other than that, they didn't play anybody ranked, I believe. Nobody else ended up at the end of the year ranked.
No, I think their best win, I want to say, is probably against UNLV. And I don't think UNLV is ranked right now.
No, they were ranked at the time. But I always like to. This is the way I always like to think about college football. I always like to college football rankings. I want to see where they rank at the end. Because at the beginning, like Florida State, a lot of people would be like, well, we beat Florida State. Yeah, you beat Florida State in week 2 when they were ranked number 10 through 12. They're not ranked anymore. Yeah. And we know how bad they are now.
Yeah.
Like, that was not a good win back in the day. That was that morning kind of ordeal. I personally don't like Boise State. I like Boise State. I wish Boise State there was a 12-mean playoff teams back when they did that stupid, what was that play against Oklahoma?
Statue of Liberty.
The Statue of Liberty. That was awesome. I mean, I love that whole ordeal. But right now, I don't think they only have one thing going for them, which is great, is the running back. The running back is a fucking monster, averaging almost like 200 yards a freaking game, which is kind of crazy to think about. But it's going to be interesting because they get the winner of, I believe, SMU, Penn State. So they get the winner of that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about those rankings. They're top four.
Yeah, so a lot of people have issues with this. We can get into this right now. So a lot of people don't understand the way that this year worked out with the 12-team format was there was a criteria, right? So how it goes usually is you have a Power Four conference, right? So
Yeah.
let's say Power Four conferences are SEC, Big 12. It was a Pac-12, but now they're gone. The Big 10 and now the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
So there used to be Power Four conferences, and the way it would go is if you win your conference, you get
Was
an
an
automatic
automatic.
bid and you would get a first round bye. So the highest seeding at the end of the season, whoever won their conference and you had the highest ranking, then you would earn
Mm-hmm.
a spot in the first round bye. But the fifth seed would get not a first round bye. So in this case, it was, I believe,
Texas.
no, AC Clemson. So Clemson was the lowest ranked conference champion. So because of that,
Oh, the lowest.
yeah,
Okay.
they got so because of that, they have to play a first round game against Texas. So that's the way that's the criteria of it. And I see why people have issues with it because if you look at it technically, yes, the seeds 1 through 4 who earn the first round bye are not the best teams on paper.
Yeah.
So I can see why people have issues with that. But again, this is the first year. We got to let it play out, the due processes, and we'll see. And then most likely next year, they'll change that to where it's the 4 best teams that get the first round bye, just like in NFL, anything.
Yeah.
First, but a lot of things too have to go into this too. Strength of schedule. That was a huge thing this year was the strength of schedule. Whether the playoff committee was punishing teams for the strength of schedule, in an instance like this, the last playoff spot was between SMU and Alabama. SMU had lost their conference championship game against Clemson, giving Clemson an automatic bye. So, but then you have this kind of debate where the strength of schedule came into play. Should SMU be punished for losing a conference championship game when Alabama was at home, not in a conference championship game, and they lost 3 games? So the strength of schedule was no comparison. Alabama had a harder strength of schedule compared to SMU. But again, SMU only lost 1 game out of the year. So there's a lot you have to look into it. Like I said, me personally, I do think the committee made the right choice in SMU. I don't think they should have punished SMU for playing basically a playoff game, and while Alabama was at home. So me personally I do think that SMU, that was the right choice to go. Now, I do think they should change the seedings going. They probably will next year. So they'll probably look at strength of schedule and the win-loss record, and they'll probably value that a little bit more than the conference championships. I think we should still reward teams that win their conference because I do think that's an achievement within itself. But if you look at Oregon. Oregon got the number 1 seed, and they probably have the hardest path to the championship.
Yeah. I totally agree with you.
Great team, regardless, which, by the way, we'll get into that later, but I think that Tennessee-Ohio State game is probably going to be the best game of this weekend, in my opinion. And the winner of that game gets Oregon, which is crazy. But then you look at Penn State, they probably has the easiest path to the college football playoff. They play SMU in the first round, and then they play Boise State in the second round. So if you look at that, that's not really fair, like I said, because Oregon technically is undefeated, best team in the nation, and they have a harder path.
I agree with you. If I have anything, it should be opposite. It should flip-flop. It should be Oregon should be in the spot that Georgia's in, and Georgia should be in the spot that Oregon's in. I see it the way I looked at it real quick and look at it the way it is set up. I think that it's going to be a repeat it's going to be a trilogy between Texas and Georgia in the championship. And it seems like Georgia has their number. I don't know if they decide to go with Arch Manning there and make it a little bit different. I think they made a big mistake by not having him in more plays there against Georgia in that SEC championship game. I think if they would have him more in there and more of the run threat, I think Texas would have had the chance to win that game. But that was just a crazy game in itself, watching that one. And it would not be, and to be honest with you, at the end of the day, it's a business. It's all about making money. And people do not want to see Arizona State or even maybe Tennessee, yes. But maybe nobody wants to see Arizona State in the finals there. So I think or the biggest ones, they want to see the big matchups is either going to be Oregon and Texas versus Georgia. That's going to be it. Nobody's going to want to go see freaking Indiana, maybe even Penn State, but no one's going to want to see Indiana or freaking Boise State in the championship. And I don't know, to be honest with you, the best game of this weekend probably I think is going to be the SMU Penn State game. I think the MCU it has a really good team there. You said that already. They lost once, and they're really kind of. And if anything, I think FCU is a little irritated and a little pissed off that people think that they should not be in it and Alabama should be in it. I'm one of those people. I think Alabama would be a better team if you would put Alabama versus SMU. I think Alabama whoops the shit out of them. Plain and simple. I think they're the better team. Yes, they have 3 losses, but those losses are pretty good losses, except for maybe the Vanderbilt loss. But other than that, the other losses are not too terrible to really think about. And they're just a better team. Talent wise, they're a better team. And I think at the end of the day, and if you see in college a lot, is that sometimes you could have a crappy coach, but the talent usually takes over and usually wins the game for you, even with a crappy coach and bad plays and stuff like that. I love what the Oregon coach has done there. I love that he's going to be a hot commodity pretty much for the NFL. And he might actually someone's going to jump in from the NFL and try to grab him. I could see that. He's just pretty good at what he does. He's made Dylan Gabriel look like a freaking actual functional quarterback, which he had decent years there in Oklahoma, but nothing like the way he's having this year in Oregon. And I didn't believe in him when because I've watched a lot of Big 12 because of Texas and Oklahoma games or whatever. So I watched quite a bit of Big 12, and he never looked like that kind of quarterback in those big games. And all of a sudden he goes to Oregon. What's his name? Dan Lanning? Is that the?
Yeah, Dan Lanning.
Yeah, it goes.
Dan Lanning
big,
over here.
yeah, Dan Lanning goes in. He goes with Dan Lanning, doesn't transfer to Porter, and all of a sudden he becomes a Heisman Trophy freaking finalist there. And he looks good. He actually looks really good. I never been a fan of lefty hand quarterbacks just because they're weird to watch throw the ball. Even the receivers say that's kind of weird to catch the ball because it takes a different spin. I don't know. It's been working with them, but they really have a really tough spot. You got, like you said, you got the winner of Tennessee, Ohio State versus Oregon. And then if Oregon ends up winning that one, they have the winner probably at Texas. Texas is going to beat Clemson. I don't think Clemson is that good of a team. They have caught a little fire there at the end of the last 3-4 games. They really have played very well at Clemson, but their best wins against SMU. SMU, I don't think is that kind of good of a team. Texas, there's a lot more talent there. Texas is going to beat them. And Texas is going to beat the crap out of probably Arizona State also. And it's going to be one of those, it's going to probably be Oregon, or I would like to see a rematch of Ohio State Oregon. And I know you were at that game.
Yes, I was.
So,
it's probably the best game I've ever seen in my life.
So
I'm not playing. I've seen a lot of college football, and that was probably the best game I've ever seen. Came down to the last 3 seconds.
Best game you ever seen live or best game you ever seen?
Both, honestly. That was a pretty good game. If Ohio State probably had 2 more seconds, they probably end up being Oregon. And who knows how the season goes? I know right now Ryan Day's on the hot seat right now. But if they had 2 more seconds, I fully believe that Ohio State probably wins that game. And who knows how their season would have gone from there. I'm not saying they had a bad season, but they probably have the #1 overall seed and they have the first round bye. And I think we're talking about the game now?
Okay, so we're back. We had a little miss. We had a little run there. That's where you heard a little beep going off. We had to go take care of an old lady. Had a huge abortion right on her, below her left wrist, bleeding all over the damn place. But we took care of her, took her to the hospital. We're back recording this podcast. Raul was back in this chair. We were talking about Oregon. And so since it's almost effing midnight and I really want to go to sleep now, how about we talk about the games coming up this week? So we got the first game. We got Clemson versus Texas. Well, actually, the first game is going to be Notre Dame versus Indiana. Who you got?
That is actually going to be a great game. It is actually an old school rivalry. Both schools are in Indiana. So apparently that was an old school rivalry. They used to play each other yearly. But I actually I like Indiana as a team. A lot of people think they don't deserve to be here. And again, strength of schedule. When they did play a team, they played Ohio State and they got thumped. But I think Indiana is a good team. I think Kirk Snetti is a good head coach. Came from James Madison. He has a really good record at his past previous schools that he's been at. He's a really good program builder as a head coach. But yeah, I think Indiana's a good team. I think they should get a lot of credit where it's due because yet they won. They only lost 1 game, and it was to Ohio State. And so it's not easy to go 11-1 in a big conference like the Big Ten. I don't care regardless who you are. So Indiana definitely deserves some credit where it needs to be. So I'm going to take actually Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's been playing pretty good football. Florida State played them. They got thumped by Notre Dame, of course. I think Riley Leonard is a great quarterback, another transfer portal quarterback.
From Duke?
From Duke, that's right. He was been playing really good. He was playing really good at Duke. I think he's underrated. He's a great, sneaky, athletic quarterback, a big gym rep guy. So yeah, I think he's a great athlete, dual threat. Ever since they lost to Northern Illinois, they've been going on this huge tear, getting better week by week. Marcus Freeman's a great coach, so I think he'll have the guys ready to go. I think the environment will be crazy. I think it's going to be like in the 20s, so it's going to be a great night game. So I'm very pumped up for that game. But give me Notre Dame to win that game. I think it'll be a lot. I think it'll be closer than what a lot of people think.
Well, they're favored by 7, so
Yeah, I think Notre Dame will pull it out.
pull it out.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think Notre Dame. I think I do like Marcus Freeman quite a bit. The head coach there. I liked him when he got the job there. Who was there? The head coach before that, wasn't it? What's his face?
That was Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly. They went to LSU. Yeah, that dude. I like him. I do like Notre Dame. I picked Notre Dame to win that game. Next game here is we got pretty much all the other games are going to be the Saturday games. First one up is, of course, going to be SMU versus Penn State. I really want to pick SMU because I'm from Texas. Want to really pick the little freaking Pony Express. But I'm going to take Penn State on that one. Like you said earlier, the quarterbacks are playing pretty good. I wish Penn State would have beat Ohio State. They had a really good chance of beating Ohio State, but Ohio State pretty much put the work in and really beat them. The head coach there at Penn State seems to he's there, he's so damn close to going over the hump. It seems like every single year they could be the Big Ten champions, but every single year somehow, some way, Penn State always fucks it up. Ohio State ends up winning, or Michigan's end up winning the Big Ten, which is kind of crazy to me because Penn State has a good pedigree. Some people might even call it linebacker U. Back going to LeVar Arrington and back to those days. Yeah, then Connor, shit, even Sean from the Cowboys before he got hurt. He went to Penn State. Yeah, Sean Lee. Yeah, big Penn State.
Yeah, I love Penn State. I'm going to go with you on that one. Huge Penn State guy. My parents used to live in Pennsylvania, so I've actually been to Happy Valley. I've actually seen a game there, and that environment is rocking. So I like Penn State. I agree with you, everything you said. I love James Franklin, too. I'm a big supporter of him. I agree, though. They can't win the big games, and that's been James Franklin's biggest, I guess, thorn in the side.
Yep.
It's been Ohio State, Michigan. Can beat every other team, and they always have a 10-2 season. So, which is actually pretty good. It's pretty good as they be consistent like that. But those 2 wins are always to Ohio State and Michigan. But this year they didn't play Michigan, so they kind of got lucky when it comes to the schedule. But again, they did lose to Ohio State again. But regardless, I think Penn State, the environment's going to be rocking. It's going to be crazy. I think SMU, I kind of feel a little bit opposite about SMU. I think they're going to get thumped. I think Penn State's going to be too much for them on the defensive end, and I think Penn State's going to roll over SMU for sure. So give me Penn State, big.
Big. So you're saying bigger than 8.5 points because that's what their favorite final.
I'm saying they're probably going to win by at least 2 touchdowns.
Okay. The next game Saturday will be the Clemson versus Texas, number 12 versus number 5. I have Texas. Texas just has too much talent. I think yours is going to play well enough to people think that we forgot about Arch Manning for a while there, or we forget about the Georgia game for a while there. Head coach there, Texas seemed to be pretty good at creating a good game plan, and as long as that game plan is kind of followed, the talent takes over and they pretty much win that one. Clemson's interesting to me in the sense that Dabo Swinney refuses to use the portal, and he's kind of one of more old school of just pretty much want to go out there and recruit, which kind of blows my mind because all the teams all the big teams use the portal and get the players they need and they switch it. But I think Dabo Swinney, is one of the biggest non-portal users, which is kind of weird to me in this new dynamic. And if they end up winning this game and winning another game, I think he's going to stick to his guns and refuse to use the portal, which is kind of odd, but that's just my thought on it. But I'll take Texas on that one, just some pure talent alone.
I'm going to take Texas too. I think this is going to be a good game though. I think there's a lot of background. There's a background story to this that a lot of people don't know. The quarterback from Clemson, Kay Klubnik, is actually from Austin, went to Westlake, was a big 5-star recruit and played Quinn in actually the Texas State final when Kay was with Westlake, and I believe Quinn was with South Carroll. They met in the state championship game and Kay got the best of him. And the safety for Westlake actually was Michael Taft, which is a starting safety right now for Texas, and he intercepted Quinn. So there's actually quite a bit of backstory going to this game. So A lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people know that, think that that kid's going to come out, have something to chip on his shoulder. But again, I think Texas, like you said, is just too much for them. Clemson's been pretty good, pretty decent this year, but they got thumped by Georgia. And then they lost to Louisville, got blown out by a mediocre Louisville team. And then they lost to a South Carolina team that I think is probably one of the best teams right now. Later on in the season.
You know what? I think South Carolina actually had a big, there at the end, towards the end, they had a big chance of getting into this playoff.
Yeah, I agree. And
I think they even might have a better case than Alabama.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, I think South Carolina would beat. And honestly, I know they lost Alabama, but they lost to Alabama. They could have beat Alabama, but they lost Alabama on a bullshit play. And so I think South Carolina honestly could beat Alabama right now if they played today. But again, regardless, like I said, I do think that Clemson kind of got lucky with SMU. And not lucky, but I will say Clemson was dominating them, and then they kind of let SMU back in the game. But regardless, like I said, give me Texas. I think Texas will take care of business. They got too much star power, especially on the defensive end. And I think that's probably going to be the difference. Texas is offensively has kind of been struggling with the holding penalties and kind of shooting themselves in the foot. But at the end of the day, I think Quinn will make the throws when he needs to. I think they'll get the running game going, and give me Texas with that defense.
Yeah, I totally agree. So and then the last game for Saturday is going to be the big one. The big one is going to be Ohio State at Tennessee. I personally think Ohio State should win that one pretty easily and handily. I don't think Tennessee's that good. I think that quarterback, which is a freshman, can't even pronounce his damn name there at Tennessee, has a lot of talent. I think he was a five-star recruit from what I remember. He's really good. And he shows flashes of it, but he makes a lot of freshman mistakes. Ohio State's defense is, some people might even call it defensive U. Well, LSU might have something to say about that. But they have really good defensive backs. Their defense is pretty decent. And the transfer from Kansas State, the quarterback, he's a big guy. And I think they'll end up using him more in the running game than they do in the passing game. And I think it's just going to be physicality there. And I think Ohio State will be more physical with them and they end up taking it. And it's going to be a blowout, in my opinion. That's going to be the one game. I think all the other games are going to be pretty decently close, but I think this is the game where it gets blown out. And unfortunately, it's one of the late night game and the prime game, but it's going to be that game.
I'm going to go complete opposite with you. I think it's actually going to be a really close game. I'm actually really excited for this game. I think Ohio State, again, game in Columbus. I believe this is a nighttime game. So
yeah, it's a night game.
Nighttime game, Columbus. Again, it's going to be like 20 degrees again. I think Tennessee is probably not used to that, especially going in this environment. I know Tennessee has played big games in SEC this year, but traveling up to Columbus is going to be a tall order for them, especially with the weather. That nighttime game, it's probably going to be sold out, 108,000 plus. But again, yeah, I think Tennessee is a pretty good team. The quarterback's pretty good. Yeah, he has shown flashes at times this year, but he's also struggled at times this year. I know they beat Alabama at home, but then they also lost to Arkansas. And so that was a pretty good game. But at the end, when they needed him, he kind of made some mistakes toward the end. Kind of showed out. I mean, he's just a freshman.
He's a freshman.
Yeah, so I would chalk it up to growing pains. I think they'll be fine. Upcoming years, I like Josh Heupel, the head coach at Tennessee. I think he's a great guy. Offensively, he's one of the better minds in the game right now. So, but yeah, I think with him, him alone, he'll get everyone ready. So I think him alone will keep the Tennessee. I think he'll keep it close enough. But again, I think, at nighttime, Ohio State kind of backs against the wall, kind of us versus them mentality, especially with them losing to Michigan like that, getting embarrassed at home. Everyone questioning Ryan Day right now, especially with how much money they spent on this team right now. I do believe it's the most expensive team right now in college football. And so with all the money they invested, all the expectations, and then not winning the championship game, the Big Ten, not even being in the Big Ten championship game, I think they kind of view as a disappointment. So, but I do think the time passed. I do think Ryan Day will have Ohio State ready. Nighttime game, give me the Buckeyes.
Blowout or close?
I think it'll be close. Honestly, I think this will probably be the closest game from this weekend.
What does Ryan Day have to do to keep his job?
I think Ryan Day at this point, with how much money they spent and just how Michigan has won the past, I believe it's in the past
four times. Yeah.
I do think that if he does win a championship.
Quick fact, Quinn Edwards is the only current player right now that has beat Michigan. And he's with Texas because he was a transfer out of Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State. Yeah, I see what you're saying. But no, I do think, like I said, I think at this point, it's either championship or bust. And a lot of people have said that, and I do agree with that. with how much money, and that's crazy, you know, because it's hard because with how much money they put into this roster and kind of poaching players and getting the best players out of the transfer portal from each team, you know, you expect them to have, I mean, they basically have like a mini college all-star team. So, I mean, on paper, their roster is insane. And you would think, and they've had a good season. Like I said, they had Oregon on the ropes, almost beat them. They've handled business when it came to Penn State. They handled business when they came to Indiana. So they're actually a pretty good team. Will Howard is a quarterback. So I think he's actually pretty good. Makes mistakes late, you know, especially in the red zone. That's kind of been his kind of problem this year, is making those mistakes in the red zone. But I think, again, like, I think for him to save his job, yeah, it's going to have to be a championship.
I think
Maybe if they get to a championship game, they lose. I can kind of
in a close game.
Yeah, I can kind of see a case for him to keep his job. But I think everyone, especially after that Michigan game, the way they lost, especially to a...
Me personally, I think Urban Meyer's licking his chops right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you...
No, he'll come back.
I will say that.
He'll come back. He'll come back.
I think he will come back, especially this year, because this year, a lot of universities have brought back previous head coaches.
Yeah.
UCF brought back Scott Frost.
Good old Scott Frost.
Yeah, they brought back
for
Scott
Nebraska.
Frost.
He went Nebraska.
He had a great year with them before he took off to Nebraska.
Undefeated.
They
champions.
Bullshit national champion. Whatever. I don't want to talk about it right now.
National champions.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But yeah, so they brought back Scott Frost, and then shout out to Rich Rodriguez coming back to West Virginia.
Good old Rich.
Yeah, I feel like I'm back in 2007 right now.
Yeah, I think Urban Meyer likes licking his chops. I think he comes back.
I can see him bringing him back. You know, like I said, especially with this year, probably universities kind of following that trend. But
bring back Mac Brown, Texas. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, he needs to retire. Enjoy those years. But no, I feel like, again, like I said, I mean, if he doesn't, maybe if he gets the national championship, I can see him. But I think everyone in Columbus right now is kind of done with them, especially how they lost to Michigan. Michigan having the year they had.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a quarterback.
I mean,
I don't know if you saw the game.
Yeah. Last year was justifiable in the sense that Michigan ended up winning the championship. But this year, like, they were pretty a shitty team. I think 6-5 or whatever the hell it was.
They were 6-5, yes, heading into the
into the game, and then they
no running back, and they have no quarterback.
And I think Ohio State was favored by double digits.
Yes, I think they're favored by 3 touchdowns at home.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I saw the game. The game was phenomenal. I like Michigan. I'm a Michigan fan, so I like Michigan, and I was happy that they, you know, that was a big upset.
They should have planted. They should have let them plant the flag.
Exactly. Oh, dude, don't even start on that too. Flag planting. I like it personally. But when Florida...
Your boy Baker Mayfield's the one that started that bullshit.
You know, he's my boy. Yeah, that's right, man. He's my
back when Oklahoma and who did he do it to? Ohio State, yeah, at the Horseshoe, yes, because when they beat them, yeah.
Big one. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Michigan, I think, such a down year, and the way they won, you know, it was just there's just no excuses for that. So I think everyone in Columbus right now is over Ryan Day, and they want him out, rightfully so. I can understand if I was a fan, you know. So at this point, yeah, I mean, if he doesn't, it's either championship or bust. And honestly, and that's rightfully so. With with a big team like this come big expectations, and if you can't fulfill that, then you know it's time to get going.
Well, that's part of what you sign up when you sign up for Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, any of those big programs.
And they have the players. It's not. I mean, they have. I mean, honestly, if you look at each position, they have legitimate players.
Well, they probably have the best wide receiver.
They have not only that, but they have one of the best running back duos too, with Quinion Johnson and Travion Henderson. I mean, those are 2 legitimate.
Dang, Henderson's still there? I felt like he's been there for like 5 years.
Yes, he has been. I mean, he's been there for a while, but those are 2 legitimate good running backs that anyone in the country would gladly take. And you look at Jeremiah Smith. He is the little cousin of Geno Smith, and he's been playing out of his mind. First team All-American, all freshman. And then you have...
Yeah, I watch a few Ohio State games, and that guy jumped out at you when he's catching the ball.
Yeah. And then if you flip on the defensive end, I mean, they have Jack Sawyer, one of the best defensive ends in the nation, I believe. I mean, they just have their safeties everywhere, cornerbacks, you know, I mean, they have lockdown corners everywhere. I mean, their defense is nothing to laugh at. So, like I said, it's a great... I do think Ohio State... I think they'll take care of business, and then I think they'll have a rematch again for Oregon in the Rose Bowl. And I think that's going to be one of the better games of the year, honestly, too. I think that's going to be set up for another great rematch.
Yeah, I think
that'll be fun to watch. I hope Ohio State wins this game, so that way they can get that rematch with Oregon.
Yeah, because it's going to be in the quarterfinals. It's probably going to be Georgia versus Notre Dame, which I think Georgia's going to stomp on Notre Dame. I think Georgia just has better talent. I think if you ever keep Beck in check, because Beck's kind of be like, he kind of went from like a Heisman Trophy winner to a high round draft pick to he might not even get drafted anymore.
And now he is, apparently the rumors are he's strongly considering coming back actually to Georgia for another
And
year.
I don't blame him.
From what I'm hearing, I'm believing that he's not even going to play in their playoff game. He hurt. I don't know if you catch the Texas game, but he
hurt of that arm, that shoulder,
his UCL on his elbow.
That's another thing about the Texas game. If you're watching the Texas game and the guy comes in because the guy's helmet gets blown off for him, and he comes in the game and his arm is dangling. I think his right arm was dangling. So
I mean, that's he just needed one arm.
And I'm watching the game, and of course, like I said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm just a guy that watches football. I'm not a guy that breaks down X's and O's every single morning. I'm not a guy that's watching coaching or this is what I get paid for to do that. But I could tell you that with 100%, I'm 100% sure that was going to be a running play. There's no way in hell that guy was going to throw the ball. How the hell does Texas not stop that run and just sells out on that run? And if you sell on that run and he ends up throwing the ball, well, guess what? Good for you. Like, you faked me out. But when you came in with your arm dangling, and I know that injury was the shoulder, and I knew you couldn't move that. Was it the shoulder, elbow, whatever it was? I knew you couldn't move that arm. If you end up faking the freaking run and you're going to throw the ball, I'm also positive that you're not going to be able to get the guy the ball unless you do a damn chest pass like freaking Josh Allen in that game that didn't count. The touchdown pass, I don't know if you catch that this past weekend. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did.
So I was like, there's no way this guy fucking throws the ball. There's no way. There's just no way in hell. But it ended up whatever.
Well, easier said than done. I know it's easier, to say, oh, I'm going to sell on the run, but Georgia has a pretty good up front on both sides of the ball. So, I mean, regardless, who they hand that ball off to? I mean, if you're running behind the offense.
What is his name?
Travis Etienne.
Etienne, is he related to the?
He's a younger brother
of Jaguars. Etienne, right? From Clemson.
His little brother. He transferred from Florida this year.
Okay,
another transfer portal guy. I agree with you on that too. Like I said, I think Georgia's a great team. I don't know. It's hard with Georgia because you don't know which Georgia is going to show up.
Yeah.
There's been times where Georgia's looked phenomenal.
You don't know if it's going to be the Georgia that dumped the hell out of Texas.
Or it's the Georgia that lost to Ole Miss.
Yeah, the Georgia that lost to Ole Miss. Yeah.
So it's hard. Georgia's been so inconsistent. I will say it seems like Georgia has gotten it together later in the year, especially the way they looked against Texas. But then a week before that, they kind of looked horrific against Georgia Tech in an 8-game overtime.
8-game, yeah, it was insane.
So again, like I said, you just don't know which Georgia is going to show up. So I do think if Notre Dame, a lot of people are picking Notre Dame as a dark horse to win the national championship.
I don't see it.
I don't think so. I don't see it either. I've always been a believer in Notre Dame, but time again, whether it's Brian Kelly, Freeman, Marcus Freeman, like I said, they just cannot win
It's like
they're worse than Michigan.
I was gonna say Penn State. They're like Penn State. They're almost the same team.
They're worse than Penn State because honestly, Penn State can't even get to these games. Notre Dame gets to these big time games and they just cannot win them. It all started with, for me at least, what I can believe in my most recent memory is when, Manti Te'o and that phenomenal defense got.
Was that before he got catfish or after?
Before. Well, I want to say it was before he knew at least, but yeah, had a phenomenal undefeated season. I really believed in them. Everyone believed in them. And then, man, Alabama just.
Who was their quarterback? To me, it's always been, since I've been watching Notre Dame, it's been when Brady Quinn was there.
Oh, and that too. Yeah, Brady Quinn was a phenomenal guy, in college. And they've had him, list goes on and on. Ian Book. They had Ian Book was the last quarterback that was before, I want to say it was Ian Book before Riley Leonard. They've had, Brady Quinn. They've had Jimmy Clausen.
Jimmy Clausen, yes, I remember Jimmy Clausen.
They've had a lot of decent quarterbacks that, but the thing with Notre Dame is they're an independent. They're not in the conference.
But that's their own damn fault.
And that is their own damn fault. And I will say this, it helps them, but it hurts them, right? Because they have to win out in the regular season. Because they don't have a luxury of having a conference championship game. So they have to impress the voters and the committee during the regular season because they have no conference championship.
I think the best chance they had to win a championship and the best team they had to win a championship, now that we're talking about Notre Dame, was the infamous Reggie Bush push. When he ended up pushing, who was that? Lefty, Matt Leinart? He ended up pushing, when he pushed him, it was against Notre Dame. And Notre Dame had a really good chance of winning that game and probably going on and winning the championship that year.
Yeah.
But they got screwed on that one. It's the past, whatever. But I'm still taking Georgia. I think Georgia makes it to the semifinals because it's just going to be, to me, it's going to be an easy win against Notre Dame. The next one would be Boise State versus probably Penn State.
Give me I don't know. I'm so torn on this one. I think playoff Ashton Genty is a thing now. I think he is pissed off. I don't know if you've seen the memes or the photos of
Him not winning the Heisman.
Yeah, at the ceremony, looking at Travis Hunter in disgust, which rightfully so. Me personally, I don't care. I don't really care for Travis Hunter. You can't count snaps as a stat. We've never done that before in the past. So now all of a sudden we want to.
Oh, no.
But if you look at it statistically, Travis Hunter is not even, I don't know, top 5 in each of the, defensive categories, offensive or defensively.
I'll put it to you this way, and this is the best way I put it to why I think the running back out of Boise State, who we're talking about right now, should have won the Heisman, is if you put Travis Hunter on Boise State, I think Boise State doesn't even make it to the playoffs. But if you put Gentry on Colorado is in the playoffs.
I will say this. I mean, if you look at the record that Ashton Gentry's inevitably going to break, I think he's going to break it. But if you look at the record that he's going to break from Barry Sanders, it's unreal. I mean, there's a reason why no one has broken this record for so long is because it is unreal. I mean, if you play Ashton Gentry, if you try to have the season that he's had in a video game, you couldn't even do it. I mean, he's putting up video game like numbers, and it is insane, honestly. And the fact that he did not win the Heisman after this historic run that he's on, and like I said, he's going to break this record, and this record's going to stand for quite some time. I don't think anyone's going to come close to breaking it for a while. I mean, there's a reason why it's been so long since this record's even been broken. But once he breaks this record, and the fact that he didn't win the Heisman, I think it's just a very big injustice to Ashton Gentry, and honestly, the game of college football. So
you know what? On that alone, you have convinced me. I'm taking Boise State.
And that's the thing. I'm torn right now because
you want to watch Jens Franklin.
I'm rooting for Gentry, and I want him to win it because I want him to prove everyone wrong that, he should have been the Heisman. And I do think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. But man, I just think Penn State, I mean, I know it's going to be a neutral site, but I just think Penn State has too much defensively. I think their defense is very underrated. I really do. And I think Boise State just hasn't seen a team like Penn State this year. And, I know you want to say that they played Oregon, and they did really well against Oregon and Eugene. They almost beat Oregon and Eugene. But again, that was early in the season. You can't compare that Oregon to this Oregon right now. So I just think that Boise State hasn't seen a team again like Penn State. And I really do think that's going to be a difference right now. And I really do think they're going to key in on Gentry, and they're going to force that quarterback to try to make some throws that he's not used to. And I think they're going to take the run game away. So, and I do think Drew Aller is a decent enough quarterback for Penn State to make those big time plays. And so I'm going to take Penn State. I'm going to take Penn State. I think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a great game, probably one of the better games of this playoff. But
yeah,
give me Penn State. I'm going to take.
You know what? I just can't trust Penn State in big games.
Yeah, and trust me, I want to root for the little guy. I've been rooting for Boise State ever since, the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, Statue of Liberty. Who was that quarterback, Statue of Liberty?
Oh, man, I forgot his name. He's on the cover of NCAA 07, too. I should know this.
Was it his face right now? Was it the offensive coordinator of the Eagles?
Kellen Moore.
Was it Kellen Moore, or was it Kellen Moore?
No, it was a quarterback before Kellen Moore, and he balled out. This is when they were in the Western Athletic Conference.
Yeah.
We're talking old school.
Yeah, we're talking old school. We're talking
this was way before that. They're in the Mountain West.
Who was it? Peterman. That was the coach before he went to Washington.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, I remember. I was the Peterman. Yeah, I remember Peterman. I remember that.
I've been rooting them from since then, and I love the small school. I love that narrative. I really am rooting for a little guy. This is why I'm excited for the 12-team playoff, because it gives teams like SMU, it gives teams like Boise State a chance to compete for a national championship that they wouldn't get in a 4-team format. But again, give me Penn State. I'm going to take Penn State again.
I'll take the Liberty just for shits and giggles. And it was Jared Zakursky, or whatever the hell his name is. The Statue of Liberty play.
Okay.
And what was the coach? I know it was Peterman, the coach. That was the coach.
You're talking about, was it Doug Peterson? Not Doug Peterson.
No, not that.
He did go to Washington. Oh my God, white guy.
Yes.
He actually was pretty good at Washington too.
Yes, he was pretty.
I'm
pretty decent.
You gotta look up his name now. I do remember.
I remember that. I remember Adrian Peterson was in that game. I remember that one. Now that I'm looking it up. And it was a crazy game because it was a 2007 Tostitos Bowl, and it was a WAC, Big 12 versus WAC, and now Chris Peterson.
Chris
Yeah.
Peterson, yes, that's him. I do remember now. Yeah, he did take off to Washington. He did pretty decent at Washington, actually. So yeah, I can't believe I forgot.
I mean, for Washington standards, besides last year going to the way to the championship with Michael
Washington's
Penix.
not been bad, man. I don't know if you remember, they made the 14 playoff with Jake Browning. They made it like in 2000, I want to say 19. So Washington they're not.
That reminds me of, me and Lee were just talking about shitty quarterbacks that Tennessee has drafted. I forgot that's another one.
Jake Browning?
Jake Browning.
I don't know if you remember Jake Locker.
Jake Locker.
They also took Jake Locker from Washington.
Yeah, Jake
I'm
Locker.
thinking of Jake Locker.
Oh, Jake Locker.
I was a big Jake Locker.
Yeah, I think I'm Jake Locker.
I believed in.
But it was Jake Locker.
I believed in the Jake Locker.
And then Will Levis.
Yeah, Will Levis came from Penn State.
And then Malik
Willis, Liberty.
Yeah, I believe, but they have taken really shitty.
Yeah, they have a terrible draft.
The Tennessee Titans I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Like, dude, they have drafted shitty fucking quarterbacks every single year.
Jake Locker. I was a big Jake Locker believer, but man, he did not pan out like I thought he would. Yeah.
So okay. So we'll take it'll be Georgia versus Boise State on that round. On the next one, one of the little guys that I don't think is going to do anything is Arizona State. I think Arizona State is going to get destroyed. I think he's going to destroy. I like their head coach. I mean, it kind of blows my mind.
Head coach is, I believe he's your age, if not younger.
No, he's fucking younger. He's 34.
Oh, he's 34?
He's 34.
Oh, I thought you were 34.
No, I'm definitely not. I wish I was 24.
Gotcha.
But then again, that would be a different story. I wouldn't be here. Yeah, he's 34.
Yeah.
He went to school there, ended up actually having pretty decent jobs as coaching. And then he goes there and he's a big believer there. He's brought the program, which is incredible because they were predicted to finish last.
Last in the Big 12. This is a phenomenal story that everyone should know who Arizona State is.
Yeah, but this is
another story.
But this is where
rooting for them.
This is where Cinderella, the clock hits 12. Like, hey, it's midnight. This is game over. Texas should destroy them and show them why.
You know what? Texas should. But I'm gonna say this right now. If there's ever a team to watch right now, you never watched any college football this entire year, and there's a team that you need to watch, it is Arizona State. This story, pick last, like you said, in their conference, and a Big 12 conference that is post Oklahoma, post Texas, that we just didn't know who was going to come out as a favorite. And everyone that they picked to be a favorite was Utah, just did not pan out. So this conference was up for grabs from the beginning, in my opinion. But man, Arizona State, talk about a team to root for. I mean, you have a redshirt freshman quarterback that came out of the portal again, and Sam Levitt, which I think is a very good quarterback, very sneaky, athletic, big gym rat guy. And then you have a phenomenal running back. I think one of the best running backs in the nation. I think he's right behind Ashton Genty and Cam Scatteraboo. I don't know if you've ever seen him play. That man is a bowling ball.
Cam Scatteraboo reminds me a lot of the. Yes, I was going to say Payne from Cleveland. I was going to say from Cleveland. Yeah,
I think he is I think he's a more athletic version of Payne Hillis, in my opinion.
And I think he follows the same route as Payne Hillis. Becomes one a good 2 years, and then all of a sudden you don't never hear nothing of him.
I think whoever drafts him, and he's going to get drafted. Make no mistake about that. I just think he's a day 2 running back.
Yeah, I was going to say not even day 2. I'll say 5th, 6th round.
No, I say day 2. I'm telling you, he's going to impress a lot of people in the draft. I'm high on Cam Scatteraboo. I am buying Cam Scatteraboo stock right now. I'm telling you, he's going to impress people at the combine, and he's going to improve. I think he's going to make a decent game against Texas. He's going to put himself on the map. If you don't know who he is, tune into this game because you're definitely going to find out who he is.
I think you're so wrong on that. I think he runs a damn like.
I know I was wrong on Jake Locker. I'm telling you right now.
I think he runs a 4.740 in the combine.
No,
is unimpressive, and he might not even get drafted.
Well, let me ask you this: have you seen any of the Arizona State games today?
I've seen some of the games. Yeah.
You generally watch them.
Yeah, I generally watch. What was the last one? Big 12 championship. I watched the first half.
Then you should have known that he was. You watched the first half.
Yeah,
you watched the whole damn thing.
No, it was over by the second half.
Okay. Well, if you saw that game, you would have known that they can't. His yards after contact is insane, and then he actually has enough speed to actually run away from defenders in the open field. So this
is college. I don't think he's never met. Just like you said earlier, Boise State has not met a Penn State kind of level of talent. Arizona State
has played a better competition than Boise State has. You can't.
Arizona State has never met a competition of a level of a defensive line of a Texas.
Yes, I will admit it's not in day, right? I will say you cannot compare the Big 12 this year to the SEC.
If this was Arizona,
I'm telling you that Cam Scatterbo has seen better competition than Ashton Genty has. And I'm telling you right now, I think Cam's going to surprise a lot of people.
Oh, we'll see. But I think if you were telling me this Arizona State last year, I would have been like, yeah, you're totally right. Because Arizona State last year would have played Oklahoma, would have played Texas.
Yeah.
But this year,
that's fair. That's
I'm
not.
Just
saying, I think if there's a team to root for and there's a team to watch, it's Arizona State.
No, I know, definitely. I root for them. I especially love their freaking sign, their hand sign.
Oh, Forkum,
which I swear he does a fucking shocker.
Yeah,
Scambu looks like he's doing a shocker.
Yeah, it's like a tick. I don't know if you've ever seen it. That's what I love about him, dude.
Yeah.
This man has a screw loose. If you watch him play, he shakes his head all the time.
Yeah, he's called fucking CTE. That's what it's called.
I mean, you got to have a guy like that. Again, he's sneaky athletic, big gym rat guy.
But I gotta admit, I like the little forecomb thing because it looks like the shocker. And I swear he does the shocker.
Yeah.
Because I was watching the post game after they won their Big 12, and I was like, I swear he's doing the shocker.
Again, I like Arizona State. My girl's from Phoenix.
If you guys don't know what the shocker sign is this 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink. I'm just gonna say that.
Look it up. But again, I have some ties to Arizona State. My girl's from Phoenix. Her whole family is a big Arizona State fans. Go Tempe, Arizona. So
yeah, I have some family right there.
So, but again, like I said, I mean, I think Sam. I think they have enough weapons on the outside to make it competitive against Texas.
But you don't think
they have a good receiver in Ty Lawson? I think their defense is a little underrated. But I think, at the end of the day, I do think
Texas is favorite.
Texas is on a mission. I do believe that they're going to be highly motivated again, a neutral site again, and I just think Texas will be too much again at the end of the day. I think they're going to key in on the run, and at the end of the day, I think Texas is going to be too much for them on the defensive side. And so give me Texas. Yeah, I'll take Texas.
I'll take Texas by 2 touchdowns, and I think they'll be favored by 2 touchdowns.
I'll take Texas by a touchdown extra point.
Okay. Touchdown extra point. That's 7. Well, you got to say it that way. That's weird. That's super weird. I'll take them, boy. 2 touchdowns, 2 extra points.
Shout out to Luke
4-10.
Luke Corso right there.
Yeah. The next one is the last semifinal games will be Oregon versus Ohio State. That's going to be a crapshoot. I don't know if it'll benefit Dylan Gabriel and the Oregon being off that long. Maybe it will because some of the injuries, you get your mindset a little bit, man. They might come out rusty. Unfortunately, I think if they come out rusty in the first half, they're going to lose that game. But if they come out pretty good, and I think Dan Lanning will come out, he hasn't prepared. He seems to be a really hot candidate as far as, I think he was the candidate for the original candidate for Alabama. They really wanted him at Alabama, I believe.
Oh, he turned him down.
He turned it down.
Which I'm happy he did. I would have been so upset if he would have left Oregon. But I like how he came out and just told everybody, I'm not leaving Oregon. Oregon's believed in me. And so I actually like how he approached the offseason last year and shut down everybody and all the rumors early on and said, I'm staying here in Oregon.
I think somebody's going to throw a lot of money at him. I don't know if it's going to be like a big program. Like, shit. If Ohio State ends up losing this game and firing...
Oregon's a big program.
Yes.
Do not sleep on Oregon, man. I'm telling you, I may be a little biased here because I've been to 2 games in Oregon, especially this year, the game I saw. But I'm telling you, Oregon has...
I've been watching Oregon since the George Harrington days.
Okay, but then you should know that they put some respect on the name. They got a good facilities. Eugene's a beautiful city. Oregon's a great place to go visit. If you haven't been, go visit. But yeah, I think Oregon's a great university. I think they're competitive in football. I mean, they have the best uniforms in college football. You got to take that into fact, and they have a good program there. And Dan Lanning has done a hell of a job taking over. And I think he's done a great job, actually.
I think
bringing that program as one of the...
I think Ohio State wins this rematch. And I think Dylan Gabriel shows the old Dylan Gabriel of Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I'm going with.
Ohio State guy. Right?
No, I'm not a Ohio State fan. I'm not a Ohio State fan.
No, I'm going to take Oregon in this one. I like Oregon. I think it's going to be a hell of a game now. And this is going to be the Rose Bowl game, which that's why I'm really rooting for Ohio State in the Tennessee game in the first round, because I would love to see a rematch, especially at the Rose Bowl. I think this game will be amazing. Again, the first game was just phenomenal. I felt like I was at the Rose Bowl watching that game. I mean, it was just a great atmosphere. But yeah, I think it'll be a close game again. Man, it would be hard to pick against. I could see your argument though for Ohio State.
So you're taking Oregon on this
I'm
one?
going to take Oregon again. I'm going to take Oregon though by a field goal. I think Oregon's either going to win by a field goal or they'll pull it on.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think it's going to be very close, and I think it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last and who makes the less mistakes.
Exactly, and just like that was the blueprint for exactly for the first game.
Yeah,
it came down to who had the ball last, and honestly, like I said, I mean, Will Howard just made a mental error, and if there's 3 more seconds left on that clock, he gets down and calls it because they had a timeout. Called a timeout. I mean, they kicked that field goal. I mean, it's a different story here. So yeah, I can see your argument for sure on that. But again, I think give me Oregon to beat Ohio State and end the Ryan Day era and Columbus. Yeah,
nice.
Yes,
Urban Meyer. Here we come. Next one. So the semifinals is going to be, in my opinion, Ohio State versus Texas. Texas wins that one.
Okay.
Texas is a little bit more physical. Texas has the better defensive lineman, the better defense. And I think they have the better firepower as far as when it comes to quarterbacking. I'm not a big Will Howard believer. There's a reason Kansas State let him walk instead of keeping him. They like Sunshine better. Avery Johnson. Yeah. The only reason I remember that I
like Avery Johnson too.
I like Avery Johnson.
Than Will Howard.
Yeah, and a lot of people might not believe this, but I used to follow Kansas State quite a bit back in the day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, big Darren Sproles fan.
Yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah,
single-handedly beat Texas and won a game. But
that Colin Klein, that tall-ass quarterback.
And they had Jordy Nelson before he went with the Packers. Yeah, I think he lives like in Kansas and has a ranch in Kansas.
I think of Darren Sproles,
Jordy Nelson.
I think of Colin Klein. I think he's an offense coordinator for A&M.
Colin Klein, which he used to be the fucking.
He was that tall quarterback for them.
Yeah,
he played against Oregon.
He reminded me like Optimus Prime, I think was his nickname.
And then, oh man,
and the wide receiver from Seahawks.
I don't want to disrespect him, man, because I'm a big fan of him. The running back from Cowboys. Little guy, Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah, Deuce Vaughn.
Deuce Vaughn balled out.
Well, he was there.
He balled out
when he was at Kansas State. Yeah.
He was good at Kansas State.
Then who was I can think of the wide receiver at Seahawks right now. He also went to Kansas State. So Kansas State, they used to have an OAS head coach. I think the freaking stadium's name.
Snyder.
John Snyder. I think
that man was going down that field.
No, Dan Snyder. Is it Dan Snyder or John Snyder?
I think it's Dan Snyder.
Yeah, and they used to coach there for quite a bit, and then he left.
He would have a heart attack. That's how old he was. I would get nervous watching those games.
And I used to hate watching him play against Bob Stoops when they
against Oklahoma,
because Bob Stoops stole all his fucking offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, all his personnel pretty much, and brought him to Oklahoma. That kind of pissed me off.
Dang, you got some.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you got to, and then I think,
Wildcats.
And then Snyder was a big innovator in the sense of he was the first one to really implement JUCO players into his program.
You know that?
Yeah. He was one of the big ones that used to go over there and go to the JUCO colleges and really bring those players. And because of him, you have players such as Cam Newton, because Cam Newton went from JUCO route after he bombed Florida.
He stole a laptop
from Team Tebow.
Yeah.
Now he wears stupid hats. And so he goes over there and he ends up going to Auburn. So yeah, a lot of people don't forget that Dan Snyder really, Snyder right there ended up.
Josh Allen went the JUCO route too.
Yeah. And so a lot of those players, when the JUCO route, he introduced that kind of like big time. And if you go back, it's Kansas State that did that. And I love the little purple and the little Manhattan kind of style.
Yeah.
So I'm a big Kansas State fan there. But going back to the Avery Johnson thing, I think he's a better quarterback than Will Howard. I think Will Howard, this game will be too big for him. The defense will be too good for him. And I think the defense wins the game. So it ends up being Texas in the finals again.
I don't know if you know this, but Texas actually plays Ohio State next year.
Texas plays Ohio?
First week of the season.
So
Texas is going up to Columbus. That is going to be a crazy game.
That's going to be a crazy game.
It's going to be a badass game.
That's going to be a crazy game because you could have Texas. One of them could actually win the championship this year. So it'll be a rematch.
Yes, it really could.
But it's going to be Arch Manning.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, too. A lot has to play out this year. But yeah, they just announced the Big Ten schedule for each team. And Ohio State, that was the first game I saw. was that Texas is going up there. I think
if Texas doesn't win the championship this year, I think you might see.
No, I don't. I give Texas kind of a pass this year.
I think
I do, me personally.
I think you're going to see a replay of the 2005 Rose Bowl.
Okay, but see, the thing with Texas right now, I think they're trending up. I love Texas too. I think Texas is trending up. They've been doing great, phenomenal past couple years, and I do think they have a great year to win this year. And if they don't win it this year, then I do think, yeah, I think Quinn's got to go, and it's you.
Oh, he's going.
Yeah, you hand over the
he's gone
to Arch Manning, and let's go.
I think he's gone.
I think next year, if they don't win this year, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I know it's going to be a disappointing year. I know Texas fans don't want to hear that, especially with how much money they've also synced into this team. But again, I think, you start fresh next year with Arch. You have impressive win Ohio State, and I think next year they'll be a great team. Steve Sarkisian's a hell of an offensive minded coach. I mean, he's unreal with everything that he does, and that program's great. And I will say this: Texas has, I think that's been a big thing with Texas in the past couple of years, is their secondary. That's always been their Achilles heel for them, and I think they have a great secondary this year. They just have the Jim Throw pointer for them. I mean, best defensive back in the nation. Their defensive line is really good. I think it's probably a little bit better than last year, which is kind of hard to say because last year they had 2 first-round picks, Murphy and Sweat. But I mean, they have a great defensive line this year. All around.
Now that you bring
great defense.
Now that you bring Texas versus Ohio State again next year, that's why I say I could see a 2005 repeat.
Yeah,
because that was a year that Texas went up to the horseshoe with Vince Young and ended up winning the championship.
I'm really excited for them to play next year. But yeah, not to get ahead of ourselves, like I said, I mean, I do think, like I said, I have Oregon playing Texas, but regardless whether it's Oregon or Texas, I think it's going to be Texas coming out.
You think Texas? So you think it
plays Oregon or Ohio State? I'm taking Texas.
Okay.
I think Texas. Say what you want about Quinn, the inconsistency, and I love how people kind of want to use Quinn. I think, this is my opinion, they want to use Quinn as a kind of a scapegoat because everybody wants
Arch.
Yeah, so they use him as kind of a scapegoat. Say what you want about him, but he's delivered, man. He should have beat Alabama his freshman year when he came his first year at Texas. He had him on the ropes.
Yeah,
he got hurt though that game, so they had to bring in Hudson Card, which was
this should be an interesting, because this should be like a kind of like a revenge game for either team. If it's Ohio State versus Texas,
it should be. And the thing is too, I think Quinn is. It is hard, right? It's so hard. I mean, look, how can you play a full season like this with Arch behind your back like that? All the hype, the name alone, everyone telling you that, hey, man, this is Arch's team. Everyone's just waiting for you to get out the fucking door. I mean, for Quinn I really do think, I like Quinn. I've always been a Quinn believer.
But I know Quinn says he want to come back for another year. He already said that.
He's not coming back.
But he's not coming back to Texas.
No, not to Texas. And there's been rumors that he's already gone off a $3 to $4 million offer already. And it could be higher. Maybe I can't remember the number, but he's already going to offer. Rumors are that he's already going to offer from a Big Ten school.
I think he might get an offer from a Big Ten school, but I don't think it's Penn State, because I think the guy say he's going to come back.
I think I could see Ohio State offering him to go back.
Do you think Ohio State might?
I heard it's a Big Ten school, and if I had to guess a school, it all makes sense.
If I was him, I would go to either USC, which they have a really good where they have a quarterback there, but but the coach is a quarterback whisperer.
No, I wouldn't go there.
Or
quarterbacks go there to die lately. I wouldn't. Look what they did to Miller Moss. They ran him out of the town. Miller Moss was phenomenal.
But I think he ends up going to Oregon.
Now,
after Dylan Gray,
the only team that can afford him for how much money they're saying is reported that he's going to offer is Ohio State. That's the only team that can afford that much money to give him.
Well, that'd be interesting. I actually would like that, because I would like to say Texas beats Ohio State.
Yeah.
You have Oregon, but Texas beats Ohio State. That's what I have. Then it's be interesting, because if he does switch, then it's going to be Texas versus Ohio State next year, and it's going to be
versus him and Arch.
Versus Arch again,
dude.
Which is weird.
I can't even think about that right now.
That's a crazy game.
I can't even think about that.
On the other aisle,
give me Texas. Yeah.
Long
story short, give me Texas.
On the next one we have, even if it's against Oregon, right? You have Oregon. On the next one will be Georgia versus, to me, Boise State. And Georgia just stomps the shit out of Boise State.
I have Georgia actually playing
Penn State.
It's hard. It's so hard.
I feel they still stomp Penn State.
I don't want a trilogy of Texas.
Yes, it's a trilogy.
I can't. I
Who
don't.
doesn't like a trilogy? You got trilogies in
I
boxing.
don't, man. I don't want a trilogy right now. I just. I'm. Look, I will say this about Georgia. I don't hate Georgia as much as I hated Alabama when they were, the standard
The
in the
dynasty,
SEC.
yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't stand Alabama when they were that dynasty, and I don't view them as much
You know who I
as.
couldn't stand? Urban Meyer, Florida.
Oh yeah, I
I could
hate them
not stand
too.
Tim
Yeah,
Tebow.
yeah. I couldn't stand them either. I'm with you on that too. Brandon Spikes, Tim Tebow, Aaron Hernandez, racist ass Riley Cooper. I don't know if you remember him. Yeah,
Yes, I
remember him?
remember
Yeah.
Riley.
Dude, he's always been racist, even at Florida. Yeah. So, and then when he got to the Eagles, it was just even worse.
Him and who was the wide receiver there? He was really good, but he suffered from
Percy
migraines.
Harvin.
Percy Harvin
Percy Harvin
was a
probably
beast.
the best athlete that's ever played football. That man was
Oh
dude.
no,
No,
better than Bo Jackson,
dude. I wanted.
better than Barry
Dude,
Sanders, whose records has fit.
do you remember him? Not only at Florida, but do you remember him at the Vikings?
Yeah, Minnesota,
Dude,
and then with the
he was
Seahawks.
fucking real with the Vikings, dude. If you get a chance to look up Percy Harvin highlights with the Vikings, it is
Oh no, I seen
it
it.
is unreal.
I seen
It
it.
is unreal.
I
But
seen it. You might-
regardless, okay. Like I said, I don't know. I just get back to what we're saying. I mean, Georgia, like I said, I mean, I don't hate them as much as I do with the Alabama dynasty, but man, I want to take Penn State. Give me Penn State and some Cinderella.
Damn.
I'm gonna dive all in. Give me Penn State.
For the win against Texas.
No, James Franklin. I think he's gonna get to the championship game. I think he's gonna shut up everybody, like he said. Drew Aller's gonna play out of his mind. They have two good running backs right now. They have a great two-headed monster running back right now with Allen and Singletary. I think they're gonna rely on that. I think Georgia's too inconsistent, man. I think they're gonna take care of business against Notre Dame. I think they'll take care. And honestly, that's a toss-up game for me too. But I think they'll take care of business against Notre Dame. But I think they've been too consistent.
Okay, so
And I think that's going to bite them in the ass.
So-
And again, we're talking about a freshman quarterback. We don't even know if Carson Beck's going to play. And honestly, if Carson Beck, he's not going to play. And if they play Notre Dame, who knows? I can see people leaning towards Notre Dame. I mean, how can you say a phenomenal Notre Dame team that's been playing out of their mind, especially on the defensive end, and things have been clicking on the offensive end? How can you say that they can't be a Georgia team that's been inconsistent with the freshman quarterback? I mean, it's just hard.
Then take Notre Dame then
It's hard to say
against Georgia.
It's hard to
But
say.
you already took Georgia.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm saying. And that's what's leading me up to right now. Give me Georgia against Notre Dame, but I do think the inconsistency.
You're taking Penn State.
I think it's going to bite them in the ass, and I think it's going to catch up to them. And give me Penn State. I think Penn State will.
So Penn State versus Texas.
Yeah, give me Penn State versus Texas.
Who are you taking?
Man, it's going to be Texas. I think this is Texas. Give me Texas year. I think Quinn's going to go out on top.
And then he goes to fucking
I don't know.
Ohio State.
I think that's a very, very questionable. I don't know. What do you do? You go out on top and you shoot right off on the sunset. Why would you come back to college football and risk another year?
I think he's been so inconsistent this year. He has not lived up to what he was building up to be last year.
Yeah.
So
I know he was a day one quarterback.
Yeah. So he ends up
quarterback.
So he ends up being. So what happens if you're Texas? Do you stick with him and say come back another year and see if you can repeat it?
No. I'm with you on this. Regardless, right?
He's gone.
He's gone. I do think right now this is in my opinion, this is a pivotal moment right now in Quinn's career. This can either make him or break him. If he balls out, if he balls out like we've seen him do in the past against Michigan. I understand it was a terrible Michigan team at the time, or it turned out to be a terrible Michigan team, but he's capable of these games. He balled out against Michigan. He balled out against Alabama last year. He's shown flashes that he can do this. So if he can harness old Quinn, limit the mistakes, stop trying to do too much, rely on the run game, make the throws when you need to, I think he can improve his draft stock in this playoff. I think this is important for him. And if he balls out against a Clemson team that's, let's admit, kind of underwhelming.
Underwhelming,
yeah,
they are.
They are. I think, some people say they shouldn't be here. So there's no reason why. And at home in Austin, it's going to be rocking. So I don't see why he can't. I don't see why he can't light him up. He lights up Clemson, puts up great take. Let's move on to the second round. Lights up Arizona State. Let's move on. I can see him lighting up Arizona State. Why not? Moves on, beats a very phenomenal Oregon team. Okay, those are three great quality wins right there. And then he won a championship game against Penn State, in my opinion. right off in the sunset. Maybe you improve your draft stock enough to be a day one quarterback, and then you get
Yeah, because right now,
back.
I see him as a second round
If you have
at
if you
the
have
highest.
4 teams that he's beaten Clemson, Arizona State, Oregon, and then Penn State to win a championship game, those are 4 great. That's a great playoff run. Yeah, I could see him rising up to day one quarterback again. I can see him being top one, top two. I mean, honestly, this is a weak draft class. Let's be honest. I mean, who's leading it right now? Shador Sanders.
I wouldn't pick him.
That's what I'm saying. So at this point, who's to say?
I mean, I like Shadon Sanders. He looks like he has pretty good playmaking ability, as you can say, and he has a pretty decent arm. I think they have him listed as 6'1" or 6'2".
I think he's probably 6 feet at least.
Yeah,
I'll give him 6 feet.
I think they have him listed.
6'1".
I think
6'1" in cleats. Yeah.
I think maybe they have. I think they even have listed him as 6'2". But when I watch him, he just looks small.
Yeah.
He looks like Bryce Young.
We'll give Shador is, man, he got beat up bad at Colorado.
And what the fuck do you think is going to happen in the NFL?
I mean, no, he's proven that he can stay in the pocket and deliver. I mean, he took some fucking nasty hits at Colorado.
Yeah.
His offense line, his first year was
but that's what's
still lighting up teams.
But that's what scares me. If you're like, let's say, against the Giants, I could think that offensive line, and he goes there, and Micah Parsons is about to blindside you and kill you.
Yeah, I understand.
It's a different. He could be injured.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's seen what Big 12 competition. You can't compare that to the NFL. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I think personally, he scares me the same way Bryce Young scared me.
Yeah,
when he was getting into it. Lately, he's been playing great. He's been playing good.
He's been playing out of his
mind. Except against the Cowboys. Let's see, where's that Cowboys game? He got his ass destroyed.
Shit the bed against, which kind of made me upset. But he almost beat the Bucks, dude. He had the Bucks.
He almost beat the Eagles.
Yes, he was playing. He's been playing pretty good ever since that benching. I'm happy. I like Bryce Young, so I'm really happy for him right now.
If you ever listened to the podcast, you know I love him as a quarterback. He has a moxie. Yeah. He has the arm, accuracy,
very
likable guy.
He's athletic enough.
Yes. I like him in all those aspects if we were playing flag football. But we're not playing flag football. No, we're playing tackle. I'm sorry. He's going to get killed one day, and I don't want to see him. He's like Tua.
Did you see that play against the Eagles where they ripped his jersey?
Yeah.
Ripped his undershirt?
Yeah.
Just fucking made that beautiful throw.
Yeah, like I said,
he's capable, man.
I'm just scared what happened to him. If the same thing would happen to Tua, the concussions, the injuries. Yeah. And Tua's a bigger guy. Yeah. If you see Tua has a little bit more junk in the trunk.
Yeah, there's the head coach right now for Carolina was the head coach, or who's the offense coordinator for Tampa, Dave Canales. I like him a lot too, but apparently he's a good quarterback guy, develops guys. He helped Baker a lot in his first year with Tampa. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I like Bryce Young. I want to believe in him. But man, Carolina's such a bad team. They need more help than just Bryce Young.
But like I said, like Bill Sanders,
back to all that
because of that.
Yeah.
So I think,
but let's tie this back though, because what I'm trying to tell you is Quinn, right? If Quinn can put enough great tape on this playoff run.
Oh yeah, he's definitely going to be day one.
And I think he doesn't come back to Texas. I think he's tired of all this Arch Manning hype. Which it's Arch Manning. That's fine. But I think Quinn rides off in the sunset. He's happy with where he's at in his college career. But now, if they have for some odd reason they have a terrible first round, second round, they get an early exit loss, and I think Quinn's gone. I think he comes back to Ohio State and Oregon. He's not going to Michigan because Michigan just got Bryce Underwood. So I don't think he goes in Michigan, but I think the money that's being reported right now, I think there's only 2 teams that can. Drew Aller already announced he's coming back for Penn State.
Yeah, he's John.
So I think the only team right now that has a quarterback that's not returning is Ohio State and Oregon.
Yeah,
so
but
those are only 2 Big Ten.
That's just the thing is that he's only a day one quarterback, in my opinion, if he has those good games.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't think it's deserving of him to be day one. It's only
talent. He has an arm.
He has the talent, but the only reason he gets to that spot is because there's really not that much talent in that quarterback.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, right? It's like, let's cash in on a weak quarterback class, and why not? And like, look at Shador, like look at these quarterbacks that are supposed to be above Quinn, Carson Beck, Shador. I mean, they're not even playing in the college football playoff right now. So if Quinn doesn't like where he's at right now, like I said, if he can prove, all the doubters right now, I don't, like I said, I see him going to the draft. I believe in Texas. I have him picking. I have him winning the national championship. So obviously, I believe in him. But yeah, I think Quinn can get
Who's the
it done.
better quarterback in college right now? Then,
Then Quinn,
yeah, coming in the draft.
dude, this quarterback class is up for grabs. I mean, you look at it right now. Who declared? I remember who's going to declare. You have Quinn, you have Shador, Dylan Gabriel's going to go. I mean, he was a Heisman finalist. I mean, I don't think I mean that was it. I mean, a lot of people like that quarterback from LSU, Nussmeier, but he said he's coming back to LSU. So I mean, this is a really weak quarterback class. I mean, it was supposed to be led by beginning of the season. It was supposed to be led by Quinn Ewers, and Carson Beck. But I mean, both of them have not panned out. And I 100% believe Carson Beck's coming back. Carson Beck's not even going to play in the college football playoff, and I believe he's going to come back
To help his stock.
Georgia.
Yeah.
He needs to come back to Georgia unless somehow this freshman leads him on a crazy run, which I doubt it.
Which I think, in my opinion, if I was the Giants and was drafting quarterbacks,
I mean,
which I don't,
quarterbacks to take.
because I don't want to see him. Cam Ward would be the only
I
one.
think Cam Ward is. Yeah, I think right now, if today the season ended and
Cam
the draft
Ward.
was tomorrow, I would say Cam Ward.
I would take him, but I think to me, he's the only worthy first round pick.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
I
think the way things panned out this year, I think Cam Ward right now, as of today, I think, yeah, give me Cam Ward. I'll take Cam Ward. Yeah, over all these quarterbacks right now. But who's to say? I mean, right now,
Yeah, there's always one that comes out usually
yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, let's
during the draft
yeah,
process.
come January, national championship. Let's see, maybe things will change.
Yeah, you got
See where we're at, yeah.
like Malik Willis that I know we were talking about earlier, came out of Liberty,
Yes.
ended up playing that little Senior Bowl, and then he ended up being in the combine, and then he ended up being
This
getting
time
third
of the
round.
year, it's very important for these quarterbacks that are kind of on the fringe right now.
Mhm.
Day 1, day 2 quarterbacks. I mean, look it over. Zach Wilson made that one throw in his combine, his pro day workout. That
That's
everybody was freaking out about. I mean, I just saw a video today that talked about how many careers were ended and people got fired over that one throw.
dude.
that he made,
I
'cause
don't know
everyone believed in him
how.
off that one throw he made the pro day.
If you watch the
Will
BYU
Levis is a new
tape,
guy,
it's
too.
just
Yeah.
insane. I was like,
Yeah, he kind of got lucky in the COVID year, all that
Yeah.
good stuff. Yeah, he cashed in on a weak year of college football. But yeah, I mean, Will Levis is another one. Malik Willis too.
so I would never draft Will Levis because I heard he's afraid of milk.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I heard he has a phobia of milk, but he
was,
loves mayonnaise.
yeah, Hellman's.
It's crazy.
He was crazy too. I don't know if you remember him, but he was at Penn State and he had a hell of an arm. But
he ended up going to
transferred to Kentucky.
Kentucky,
and
yeah.
he balled out at Kentucky. And got, I mean, enough to get drafted where he's at. But yeah, this is important. This is an important time of year for a lot of quarterbacks out on the fringe and that need to prove themselves to be, to get. But I do think pro days and the draft, the combine, I think that's going to help out a lot of people too. But yeah, as of right now, yeah, it's a really weak quarterback class. I don't see a lot happening right now. But again, let's get through this playoffs and who knows.
Yeah.
Maybe we're talking about Quinn
All right.
Ewers and
Well, how about bring you back after this playoffs are done,
that'd be phenomenal, dude.
and we'll see where we're at, and we'll see who was right.
Yeah, that'd be great. I feel pretty confident about my first round picks. I feel really confident about my first round picks.
Oh yeah, I don't think we disagree on any of them. I think the ones we
You
disagree.
picked SMU. I don't have SMU. I don't think SMU is worth a damn. I think they're going to get embarrassed. I don't like SMU.
No, I have Penn State.
You have Penn State?
Yeah.
Oh,
I just had I like SMU. I want to cheer for SMU, but I got Penn
think
State.
SMU has no business.
I think where we.
I'm a SMU hater. I don't like SMU.
Why?
I think SMU thinks that just because they went to the ACC championship game the first year, they'd gone to their head and they're better than what they are.
And in honesty, all the teams that went to the new.
I don't think SMU's good at all, actually. I really don't. I think Clemson gave that game away, and Clemson was murdering them. Clemson was dominating them.
No, but I mean,
we're talking about a weak Clemson team.
But I'm talking about if you look at every conference, it was a newcomer that was in the championship game.
Yeah,
Texas was a newcomer in the
because
SEC.
we had such a mass movement.
Yeah, but
I mean, there's going to be bound that was going to happen.
The Big Ten ended up being
Big Ten has like 18 teams.
Being Oregon.
Okay,
a newcomer.
It's training up though. If you look,
no, but still,
that surprised me.
But still, it's like it doesn't also not. It's nothing to brag about. I guess you could say.
I think SMU. I think they thought that, and when I went to and again, Might be a little upset because
I think you're upset because
they
you
stopped
stopped Florida State. Yeah.
Okay, but regardless, what I'm trying to tell you is that I went to go see Florida State. It was up in SMU. I was up in Dallas, and a lot of SMU fans, they're very arrogant, and they think that their team is amazing, and they think
Well,
it was a privilege for them to be in the ACC, and that it was a privilege for us to have them.
let me tell you a little secret about SMU. SMU has money,
You know, I saw like,
and there's a lot of privilege up there.
I will say the campus blew my mind. The stadium's tiny. The fan base is very arrogant, and it's a very specific fan base.
And give them a break, man. They're recovering from the suicide rule of, what was it, Eric Dickerson and
they lost to a Nevada team this year. They lost to Nevada.
Okay.
I mean, how do you lose to Nevada? I mean, so I think Penn State is going to stomp them. I think Penn State's really going to stop them. But
yeah, I think Penn State also beats him, but I think we're in the first round. Everything we got it.
There, yeah.
Second round is where we kind of go off.
Yeah. I just think Oregon's going to end.
I had Boise State, and I had
that's a toss up. Yeah,
and Ohio
I'm
State.
with you on that one. That's going to be hard for me to choose too. That's hard because the way things played out with Ashton Genty, of course. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think Penn State has a very easy path. If you look at Penn State, they play SMU and Boise State.
Well, I think, like I said, Georgia has a very easy path. That one below bracket is very easy. The other one is
I don't know.
Is a tough one.
Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame.
That's
a toss up.
Notre Dame. I'll tell you who Notre Dame is.
I can't pick Notre Dame because based off their past. And I'm with you on that.
Notre Dame is the Dallas Cowboys of the fucking college football. Everybody wants to get on that hype team. Everybody thinks it's their year, and they always shit the bed.
I have amnesia. I forget the past years of Notre Dame. I'm just like, oh man, like this is Notre Dame's year. And I always forget. I'm delusional. I always forget the past years. But I don't know. I think with the freshman quarterback, but again, it's going to be a neutral field, neutral site. So I don't know. I'm going to have to take.
We're going to have to end this now because it's about 1 a.m. Glad to have you here. Yeah, we'll have you again.
Thank you, Russian.
No problem.
Yeah, it's been great.
And we'll have you again and to figure out at the end of I'll have you before the championship game so we could talk about how wrong you were in all these picks.
Who knows? It could be a Boise State versus.
No, that's not. Come on.
Who knows? That's the beauty of this 12-team format.
No, it's not going to happen.
Who knows?
I have a better chance of winning the crypto money than this shit. All right. Well, you have a good night. Thanks, and we'll move on from here.